Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Baseball Podcast. It is me, Joey P. Joe P. Zafia. With me today is my co-host of the Welsh and special guest, our own Mike Maher from Fantasy Pros. That's right. He is now a full-time troll here. It just goes to show you, everybody, if you start out on the YouTube comments, look where you could end up someday. And today we're doing another mock draft episode, and I'm listening to you, our peanuts and our Cracker Jacks, and we are going to be using our multi-user draft software today for a points league draft. Welsh hates points leagues. I love them. I don't care about Mayor's feelings. So this is going to be a great show here today, and I know a lot of you have been waiting for that content. So we're going to talk a little bit about the strategy before we kick things off. But Welsh, we're coming off the big Fantasy Fest, which if you miss it, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, Fantasy Pros MLB, which you should subscribe to, because Welsh and I are just basically a week away from starting leading off here right here live every single day. I believe at noon is when we're going to start, whenever Welsh has his coffee over on the west coast of things, or whatever the heck Arizona time frame is. But Welsh, how are you doing after the Fantasy Fest? You enjoy your time there, mock drafting with Bogman and myself?
It was good. It's been a Fantasy Fest type of week. I've done my own version of the Fantasy Fest just in my own content across the board, but you killed it on the Fantasy Fest, man. You know, don't give us anything. It was just Bogman and I. I mean, I was laughing too, because Bogman and I got description love in the episode too. It was like, join the Fantasy Fest with Joe Pisapia, Chris Welsh, and Scott Bogman. And Bogman and I were on for like 1 hour. So I was like, look at us. We're getting all the extra love. Now, you killed it, man. You did a great job. Also, a podcast version of some of the best clips, which everyone should go listen to if they have not, if they don't have time to go and consume 4 hours. But I highly suggest you do, especially hour 3, of course.
Yes. Well, we conveniently left the mock draft off of the best of, because let me tell you, it was definitely Animal House by that point in time of the show with the three of us. And speaking of crazy animals, Mike Maher, who I'm just very excited. You know, Mike has worked for me this past year in the Baseball Black Book, so you can check out his work there. Mike has been a huge part behind the scenes and a bit more in front of the scenes of late of Fantasy Pros. And all joking aside, for all of the funny quips back and forth that we do, I am super excited that you are part of this team on a full-time basis this year. Mike, you were so helpful last year in leading off and doing so many other things in terms of baseball and football content here at Fantasy Pros. So what's it like to be a star now? I mean, have you changed your lifestyle? Did you upgrade your vehicle? I don't know, how has this kind of impacted your lifestyle here in Jersey?
Well, I'm still kind of figuring that out, but the biggest impact is that I now have one job instead of 2. And so it's like I'm still staying up till 1 a.m., which I shouldn't do, and working on Fantasy Pro stuff. But it's fun now. This is the first time I'm doing a podcast with you that I'm not sneaking away from another job and checking my email on the side while doing a podcast. So it'll be interesting to see how much I can actually focus now.
Well, now that just means that if you were doing 2 jobs, then you should do twice as much work for us. Isn't that kind of the ratio that he just laid out?
Too.
Yeah. Oh, well, Friedman's a smart guy, so clearly we see eye to eye on that. And today, as I said, we're going to be going through a points league mock. We're very excited about this, give a little differentiation, and we're going to be using that mock draft lobby multi-user draft software over at fantasypros.com/draft wizard. I know you guys know about the draft wizard by now, but I'm telling you, it's the greatest tool to get you prepared. They have so many bells and whistles. And when you're a premium member here at Fantasy Pros, you have access to amazing features. We're talking about if you've got keepers already in your league, you can set those names and then run the mock draft software. It's unbelievable. I mean, there's so many little kind of, perks and things like that are available here. You can back out picks if you don't like the way the team's going, which is something I may or may not have done once or twice, because I'm a perfectionist and I want to try to get everything right as much as I can. But what's so great about the multi-user draft software is you can send the link to friends. You can mock with some people. You can still use the computer opponents as well. And it's an easy to use interface along with our draft simulator, which obviously, we have so many tools right now, including that free draft kit as well that's available on Fantasy Pros. And a big thing too, I want to keep stressing this, a lot of places they'll give you 1 or 2 baseball shows a week, maybe 3. We're going to be here every single day breaking it down for you on leading off, and that's going to start April 6th. So we're going to start the day before the season, because we can and we will. And then every single day, we're going to take you through fantasy baseball. We're going to throw a little DFS in there. We're going to throw a little prop bets because Welsh is so great at that. So we're going to do a whole bunch of that. But we want to encourage you right now. We're already past 5,000 subscribers. It's a fantastic time to be alive. Go to youtube.com/FantasyPros MLB. Again, it's on the MLB channel specifically. You got to be a part of it. And that's where that's all going to happen. And as Welsh mentioned before, you can go watch the Fantasy Baseball Fest or just skip ahead to Welsh and Bogman, of course, if you want to do that. And all of our podcasts are going to be on there too. And a lot of short form videos we're going to be working on also. Now, gentlemen, when it comes to points leagues in the past, I have been very, very pitching heavy. What's happened in the last 5 years is this de-evolution of pitching. We've gone through 10 years ago where there were 40 plus guys making 200 innings a year. Now we have like 4 or 5 guys who might hit that mark. So the quality of pitching, the volume of pitching, it's really changed. And I do use the word devolved because I really feel that's what's happened. Now, I'm of the mind I'm still going to go pitching early. It's something that I'm going to approach with. Welsh, I know you're not the biggest points league guy, but I think you'll support my theory on this, which is it's very important to make sure you get a really strong offensive base and then target where the pitching market really lies in terms of value. And for me, that pitching market really lies in that 1A number 2 starter grouping that's out there that I feel like that elite tier comes with a lot of risk and a big price tag. But if I can get a whole staff of maybe 2 or 3 guys that I feel really good that can have those number 1 ace-like starts from time to time, to me, that's my approach for 2022. How do you see the player pool when it comes to points league specifically?
Yeah, I mean, in the one big points league I'm in is Tout, and I just did this past weekend, and I did, first off, it's an auction, so I did like a studs and scrubs, but my literal construction to what you're saying was I got a couple studs. I got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bryce Harper, and Shohei Ohtani. It's a pretty good start. And I also paired them not with the elite pitching because someone else went hard on it, but I still got DeGrom when he was a little bit cheaper, Wheeler, Freddie Peralta, and the points league gave a good boost for relief pitchers as far as what they were getting. So I had also got Emmanuel Clase and Trinan, and I built my core around that. I'm going to probably be pitching heavy. I think it's one of the best plays to go. I'm always looking for boppers as well. I'm in the 3rd spot here. There's a chance the computer might throw Vladimir Guerrero to me, and if that would be the case, I would take him. Shohei Ohtani is another one of those that I actually think is an extra even boost in this platform, especially if you can have one player and you could move him, as a pitcher, or you can align him as a hitter, whichever one you want to do. But I'm going to still go pitching heavy regardless of the de-evolving of it, because I think what you led to is as it's getting, get your big boppers, get the pitchers that are locked down right now. Injuries are happening. Guys are getting moved. Tyler Mahle looks a little less interesting right now as he continues to be a red. Luis Castillo been a little bit banged up, same reason. That get the guys you're assured of. The same strategy we're having for closers with like Roto and head-to-head. I want to get that to pitchers. Like, give me my lockdown guys early, and I can focus on big bats. Guys like Hunter Renfroe and Joey Gallo are even more enticing in this format later, and I can put them in because it's, we're de-evolving the names, and we're just boosting up categories, and that's how I'm going to approach it probably in this draft at 3. So for me, this is going to be Cole or Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's going to be one of those two.
Well, if Shohei Ohtani qualifies a pitcher and hitter in the format that you're playing it in points, he's your 1-1 period because you're getting 2 players like that. It's not even a debate as far as I'm concerned. Any head-to-head, especially where you have this guy who is 2 players in one, it's just stupid not to take him. The other thing is, Mike Maher, knowing your points system that you're playing in, I always push to make sure that saves are not the same amount of points as wins are. I hate that. We're a little limited here what we can do in points leagues on the draft software in terms of tweaking certain things. But the point I want to drive home is, if you're setting up a points league, value everything appropriately. I've spent about 10 years trying to get the perfect point system where hitting and pitching is really kind of right there with each other. Pitching always in those, weekly head-to-head formats when you can have those elite guys going twice, that's a huge deal. But Mayor, it's so important to me that you really make sure, especially that the relief pitching is weighted appropriately. Because the last thing you want is a guy to come in and get 3 outs and get 10 points, which is the same as a win potentially. To me, that's just bad form.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny you say that because, you launched your Black Book Challenge League and there was an issue with the points initially. And I think because of the issue, I think there were 9 players projected to like score positive points, and everyone else is in the negative. So that was a fun kind of like example.
Yes,
of
they
what
missed
can go
the
wrong.
minus. It was not -5. It was minus 0.5 for a strikeout. And we quickly fixed that. And by the way, we filled that. We filled 120 spots in that league in 24 hours. So thank you to everybody who joined and signed up, especially our
You're
people in
welcome.
Discord, because our Discord people had first crack at it. So if you're hanging out with the cool kids, you get, cool perks like that. But continue on, Mike Maher.
Now, what are our points here?
Our points here, how they're set up again, you can only
Approximately,
pick these categories of how it is. So we've picked through the categories. So it's
Okay.
going to give us at least a range and an idea of the outcomes. But I also recommend for those people who are trying to spice things up, the hybrid that I talk about in the Black Book this year, where you play head-to-head points, you give everything proper weight. That way everything matters. And then you can play all play. So it has a season-long feel to it. And you can reward the teams that have a good week every single week over time. And I think that to me is the future of fantasy baseball and how we're going to get people to come back and continue to grow our game. It's not the old school roto stuff. It's doing something. Yeah, we all play head-to-head points, 16 teams. It's magnificent. We reward the number one best record for the year with a bonus money. Then we chop right after the All-Star break, go to 8 teams in the playoffs, and we play 3 rounds, 2 weeks each, and then we're done by Labor Day, so you can get your football on. It's magnificent. It's great. You can read all about it in the Black Book if you want. All right, let's kick things off here. We're going to start it off. Team 3 is the Welsh. Maher decided to go in the middle at 1-8. I'm going to be the 1-12 here pick. So as Welsh was saying before, we've got a good setup here. He knows his targets, so we're going to kick things off here in a few seconds. So Welsh, what again are you hoping for makes it to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is Cole or Vlad for me. I guess because we don't have like, distinct details. I'll probably not take Ohtani in the top 3, even though I completely agree Ohtani in a points format is like right near the top, especially when you get both spots for him. But unless you tell me different, I'm not assuming this isn't like.
Nope, and we've kicked things off here. So Turner and Ramirez go 1-2, which
And this isn't like
Soto
a weekly
and Vlad
head-to-head
available.
type of thing, right?
No, it's weekly head-to-head points. Again, these are the rosters I want to construct here. What the grades are, I'm less caring about. I want to help the people who are playing in points leagues this year with roster construction and thought process there. So let's attach it like that. We've got our 5 starting pitchers, 2 relief spots, 4 outfielders, 2 utility. We're not going to do bench, no corner spots, no middle infield spots. Again, this is the fun fantasy baseball. So Welsh, you went ahead and you selected who at 1-3?
I took Vlad. I really kind of wanted to sit here and take Garrett Cole because I think that is maybe the play. But to your point, what you said earlier, getting elite hitters in points formats is a distinct advantage because there's a point where things are really going to drop into the same pool. So having a distinctly high-end hitter like Vlad with a big home run hitter, that's where I wanted to go, and that's where I went with the 3rd pick.
Okay. And look, sometimes that happens where you have a league that, even though it's a points league, they still want to go very heavy offense early on. And I don't blame them. That's what I would do nowadays as well, because the days of Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez are long gone. After Vlad, Soto, Bo Bichette, Shohei Ohtani goes, Tatis goes 1-7, and then Mike Maher, you're up for the 108 with 10 seconds left.
So I'm going with Kyle Tucker for a lot of the reasons that we're talking about. So it's points leagues, and he's a guy that can contribute kind of across the board. I can get 30 home runs out of him. I might get 20 steals out of him. And I think he's going to be, last year I grabbed him a lot, like in the middle kind of rounds where he was going with the idea, especially like a keeper dynasty, with the idea that he's probably going to be a 1st-round pick this year. And here he is. And I think he's only going to get better. And I love that pick in the 1st round.
All right. Garrett Cole goes next, then Corbin Burns. Now the pitchers are starting to fly. Bryce Harper goes. Now I have a choice to make. I can take a Betts or a Trout, or I can double up because there are 2 starting pitchers that I do have 1st-round grades on. Walker Buehler is one of them. So I'm definitely taking Walker Buehler with one of these picks. Now, for all the stuff that I talked about, it's always about what the draft board is coming to you. So I have my theory. I am ready to go, but I have to pivot because every draft is different. If I get Max Scherzer and Walker Buehler to start a head-to-head points league, I'm going to take that every day of the week. Both of those guys shouldn't be there. That is legitimately my cutoff of guys with the grade of 1. The other ones were Corbin Burns and Garrett Cole. After that, I'm pivoting to that 1A group, but I'm going to go ahead and start and double up on the pitching here. Acuna, Trout, Mookie Betts, back to Maher here with the 205 pick.
I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna double dip on hitting and go with Freddie Freeman. I like the fit in LA. I don't kind of like some of the middle first base options, and so I'm gonna lock in that power production from Freddie Freeman in Los Angeles.
And remember, because we're not playing with the corner and middle infield spots too, it's a little bit more of a wider berth for some of these hitting choices we can make. So the board changes quite a bit when you take those two spots out. Woodruff goes, I'm sorry, after Freeman, we got Rafael Devers at 206, then Woodruff 207, DeGrom 208, Starling Marte at 209, Welsh on the clock at 210.
Oh man, I wanted DeGrom like you don't know.
So
and I
close.
Am pissed at Team 5. That dirtbag Team 5. I like some of the pitchers here, but I think it's going to swing back to me. So I'm going to take one of the better hitters, and I'm going to go with Luis Robert.
Yep.
You know what? You thought it might have been Ozzy Albies, but for everything that Mayer is talking about with Tucker, I think that is Robert to the copied degree. So I'm very excited about that, but then stupid Zach Wheeler goes, and these guys are ruining all of my fun.
Ooh, yeah. You had Albies go right after Robert, then at 212 into the turn, Machado, Zach Wheeler start the third, Shane Bieber right before you. That's got to sting, Cotton. Where do you go next? 303.
Well, I cannot put myself in a situation, especially in this format, where I go another hitter and just avoid pitching. I'm just not going to do that. You could do that. I think there's a fantastic pick in Jordan Alvarez sitting there, but I'm going to go with pitching. And do I want to do... All right, well, you know what? We'll go with top lift here. I like Julio Urias. We want to play for wins a little bit more. There's a pitcher I was kind of contemplating, but we will go with Julio Urias. Wins are important.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, they are. And so Urias, I think, is another one of those guys you can bank on as an ace. You feel good. You know he's going to get run support. You like the environment. You obviously think your win potential is going to be there. So that's a big bonus. Quality starts and W's is a huge bust. Boom there, excuse me. Also, by the way, speaking of Robert, I just today put some money on him. I want to talk about him for a second for MVP because the odds are really interesting. I'm going to pull those up in a second. In the meantime, let's look more after Shane Bieber and Urias, Cedric Mullins, Wander Franco, who's great in the points league with that OBP. Jordan Alvarez, I was hoping makes it to me. He does not. Aaron Judge at 307. Mike Mayer, you're on the clock at 308.
Well, Jordan Alvarez wouldn't have gotten past me because I was hoping for him to fall to me. And Welsh was saying you could go hitter here again, and I'm going to. And part of that is because I love like the middle area of starting pitching this year. Like you were saying, Joe, I'm going to take Nick Castellanos here and lock in some more power for my outfield. But like you were saying, Joe, those kind of top arms come with a price tag and they come with some risk. And I find myself kind of avoiding that like really elite tier this year because I love so much of that middle tier of pitching. And I'm probably just going to grab a bunch of it in the middle rounds here.
Understandably so. By the way, Welsh, Luis Robert on FanDuel right now, 35-1 for MVP. I threw $10 on that bad boy. So I'm telling everybody right now.
You know who's 40-1?
Who?
Byron Buxton is 40-1.
Oh, stop
Joe.
it.
Let's
35-1.
I'm gonna go put
it's just his games
down.
played. Well, that's
No, you guys are both bad people. You're both not good people. I'm gonna go put money right after we're done with this on Byron Buxton just to spite you.
All right, let's move on here to the next ones. I'm going to start a little bit of the inside out here. I'm going to go with Whit Merrifield, one of my favorite points league kind of guys, because he's going to get all sorts of opportunities. He's going to score runs. He's going to be on base. He's going to hit. He's going to have a little bit of power, stolen bases as well. I've got another choice here too. Shortstop is really deep, so I could go with Alcantara, or I could take my boy, who is also the top lift here in Brian Reynolds. And you know what? I think I want to. Joey Like. So here we go.
Brian
Maybe it's not
Reynolds
the big power group here, but I'm going to just continue to have a steady floor of points, and we'll see if we can make up the power a little bit later. Some of the guys I liked in between went, unfortunately. So after Castellanos, Olsen went, Riley went. I wanted one of those. I did not get them. Simeon, then me at the turn, Merrifield, Reynolds. Robbie Ray goes at 402. 403, Teoscar Hernandez, then 4-4, Xander Bogaerts. Mike Mayer. Is now the time for a pitcher?
I was kind of on the fence while you were talking, and there's a tier here that I like. There were some other players I like. I'm going to grab the pitcher at the top of my tier in Lucas Giolito and just lock in a ton of innings, a ton of strikeouts, probably, definitely double-digit wins as long as he stays healthy, and just kind of start to build out my staff. Although I did have a lot of hitters I thought about just going with instead. I'll see if any make it back to me.
That
if the
one
pitchers
killed me.
specifically didn't make it to me that did in the end of the first round, the Mike Maher strategy of what he's doing right now, those 3 hitters and then Giolito, that's my ideal scenario typically in a points league. And now I would start to build the Mortons and Verlanders after that. By the way, in NFBC last night, Verlander, I think Spore took him with a 4th round pick or something. So watch that. That's starting to turn very quickly. So after Giolito goes, we have Sal Perez, Byron Buxton at 407. Welsh is not happy. 408. Trevor Story, Tim Anderson. There's the shortstop run for you. Aaron Nola at 410 to the Welsh.
Yes, and I took Aaron Nola to get my second pitcher. I desperately wanted Giolito. I almost took Giolito over Urias in that last round. That's how highly I think of him. One of I think 11 ATC pitchers projected for 200 strikeouts this year, and I really wanted him. So that's a great pick. So I took Nola to get a
20
second
seconds
pitcher.
here for you back too, just so you don't miss it.
I am. Which one do I want to go with?
While you're thinking, Josh Hader goes at 411, and Liam Hendricks was also pisses off Welsh. We have 2 mandatory RP slots. Sandy Alcantara goes 501, another nice guy you could have paired up there. 502 Lindor, and then Welsh. 1 second.
Yep, I got it. I went with Mr. As long as it took. Yeah, I went with Paul Goldschmidt. I have a first baseman. Nice. I doubled up on the corner, get 2 elite first basemen, take them off the board. I would have considered Matt Olson earlier when he went. I thought he was kind of a steal in this. So I'm taking some big boppers.
And you know what? Look, with the 2 utility spots, you could take the 2 big boppers there and not worry about it. So instead of the corner spots, we move to 2 utility, which I prefer in this format. I think it's much better. Pete Alonso goes next, then Corey Seager, Freddie Peralta, who is my other guy too. I would love to have a Giolito Peralta start if I could in that other strategy I was talking about. Tyler O'Neill at 507. Mike Maher, you're on the clock for 508 with 20 seconds.
So I'm going to go with a guy that at the beginning of the offseason, I didn't really think I was going to have a ton of shares, but I keep finding myself drafting him in major leagues. And so I'm going to take him right here, Alex Bregman. And I think we're going to get a bounce back year from him. I think the price is right. And third base is really gross this year once you get out of those top handful of names. And so for all those reasons, I keep finding myself with Bregman in the 5th, 6th round this year.
It's extremely gross. You are correct, sir. For me right now, speaking of it being gross, there's 2 guys actually I really like here. One is my boy, Eloy Jimenez. So Eloy, that's an easy pick. Eloy Jimenez. And then the next guy for me, speaking of third base being difficult, also, he's the top lift right now. I got a value pick on Jimenez. That's nice. Thank you for the thumbs up, Wizard. I appreciate you, at least for now, until you start making bad emojis at me when I make bad picks. Chris Bryant, who qualifies everywhere. I love in a format like this because it gives me a lot of versatility. Look, he's going to be good in Colorado at the very least. Great environment in those 81 home games. I'll take it. And I got a thumbs up there. I like the way this is going. I am a happy camper so far. Got my 2 studs. I got my offense. Now BPA rest of the way from.
Hoping when I made the last pick that Lance Lynn would come back to me, even though I was just going to lock in kind of 2 White Sox starters. So now I'm looking at other things to do.
I don't have a problem with that concept.
No, especially not in
guys on a team that's going to win 100 games this year. Yeah. Why not?
So I think instead I'm going to stick with pitcher. There's another pitcher I like as a person, but I don't really like where he landed this offseason that we can talk about in a little bit.
Person, what are you guys hanging out?
Seems like a nice guy.
You guys are going to Chili's together. What the hell are you doing?
So I'm going to go with Max Fried instead.
All right, Max Fried, another solid arm there. After Fried, Jorge Polanco, one of my favorite points league guys, who's being tremendously undervalued still, in my opinion. He's going to hit 4 in that lineup. Then you have Kevin Gossman, Will Smith, Logan Webb at 609. The Welsh is up for 610.
Well, nothing is falling. That's a big thing that, again, my decisions, Goldschmidt or Bryant, I really wanted Bryant. I should have just taken him for that position. I thought I could get him to slip by. He is not slipping by. Nothing really is. I think there's a great hitter still on the board, so I'm going to just snap this up and see what comes back in JD Martinez. Good average power. This is kind of a no-brainer. And then we'll come back down and see what the rest of these picks were. Iglesias, Barrios, Castillo, and Javi Baez. So it comes back to moi.
This is why I love working with you, because I can take a couple picks off, and I know you're gonna be such a professional. And
I'll jump in there.
I can breathe. Woo.
All right,
I love it.
I'm gonna take a stab. Something else happens. I'm gonna take my guy, similar to how you talked about Brian Reynolds, and you took him way earlier. I think you get Brian Reynolds like hands down with Ketel Marte, who qualifies at second base. So I'm gonna take Ketel Marte, get a little infield help here. 7th round, 75th overall, pretty good value.
Very nice. I like. All right, after Welsh made his selection of Ketel Marte, Chris Sale goes next. Brandon Lau, who had a tremendous year last year. Joe Musgrove, straight out of my queue. Jose Abreu, straight out of my queue. Mike Maher, 708. Will he take another person out of my queue? We shall see.
Or will I take another person out of the White Sox rotation? I'm just going to go right
Dylan Cease
with Dylan Cease.
There? Wait, wait.
Yep.
There you go. Dylan Cease goes out there. What'd you think of Cease last year and the step forward he made? There had been some teases in the past, but last year really seemed to be a new version of him that we hadn't seen.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm high on him this year. I think he always had that in him, and you finally, like you said, you saw it last year. And I think, there's no reason not to expect more of the same this year, if not better, and potentially more innings.
All right, Dylan Cease, then Mondesi goes Clase, then Montas at 7-11. It's interesting. And Christian Yelich is fascinating because I don't love him in Roto because I don't know what the ceiling is, but in points, he's somebody I consider. Same thing with Bellinger. It's just whether I want to take that risk right now. Carlos Correa is still on the board as well, or I could just go ahead and take another pitcher, as I am one to do, and I think I just might. So I'm going to take Charlie Morton here as my third starter. So let's go ahead and lock that in, and then let's see what's available here. Just going to reload for a second. I love Charlie Morton on the bounce back as well, because to me, Charlie Morton's one of these guys is just, once again, grossly undervalued. Now with the hitters, it's, the Winkers of the world, shortstop starting to run a little thin, I think, as well. We mentioned third base is tough, but I do have Chris Bryant, which allows me to kind of move some guys around, which I think is very important. That third base cliff with Anthony Rendon is staring me in the face. I watched him yesterday in a game. He looked awful. He was just getting all kinds of confused out there. He did, man. That dude looked like he was toast. Maybe the timing's just not there, but he looked awful. I'm going to go ahead and take Correa here at shortstop. I'm going to go take the last guy at that spot that I think about. I love Bobby Witt too. Bobby Witt was the other guy I was contemplating, but I'm trying to stay disciplined in my love for Bobby Witt, which I think by next week might be completely out the window. Ryan Presley, 802. Yu Darvish, 803. Max Muncy, 804. Mike Mayer, you are on the clock.
So for a lot of the reasons you were just saying, I was looking at the shortstop kind of position thinning out, and I didn't have any. I was hoping Correa was going to fall to me, and then I was hoping you were going to go to that third base cliff, but you came right back to Correa and took my guy. So I'm going to pivot to the other middle infield spot and take a guy I am huge on this year that a lot of other people are thinking some regression's coming for, and I'm going all in on Jonathan India as my second baseman.
All right, Jonathan India is the second baseman. I know he's a Welsh favorite too. Muncy went right before. After India, we've got Giancarlo Stanton going at 806, Jazz Chisholm 807, Edwin Diaz 808, Blake Trinan flying up draft boards at 809 ever since the Kenley Jansen signing in Atlanta. Welsh, you're up for 810.
Oh, all of these not great players. So
well, and this is why, let me tell you, this is why I really am happy that I took Bryant where I did, because I didn't have to get forced into the third base cliff. I just moved Bryant to third, and now I look for first base and try to fill that later. So this is why a guy like Ketel Marte, Chris Bryant, if you take him in the right value, it really helps let the draft come to you. So what are you doing here with your 15 seconds?
I'm going to go with another pitcher. I'm going to take Alek Manoah, get my strikeouts, get my wins on a good team. Pick. And
love
then
that.
Coming back, I'm tempted to double tap. And you know what? There's some other good value out there, but I feel like we're going to move to a different tier. You know what? I just caught myself.
Alek Manoah went, and then Flaherty, Yelich to close out round 8. Starting round 9, there's Anthony Rendon. The cliff has happened. 9-2, Yasmani Grandal. Welsh are up at 903.
Yeah, I'm making the ends. I am going to, we'll just go with this. We'll try to stay disciplined here. I'm going to go with Trevor Rogers. Get another pitcher here.
Outstanding.
Get innings.
2 of my favorite pitchers. You just cleared out my pitcher queue. Well done, my friend.
Had to stay
done. Love those guys. Outstanding selection. So Welsh making up some ground hardcore in the last 2 picks. Jesse Winker, 9-4. We have Mitch Haniger going at 9.5. Ryan Mountcastle. Oh, this has got to be crushing for Maher. 9.06, just 2 picks before. DJ LeMahieu, 9.08. Oh my goodness. Are you okay, Mike, that Mountcastle did not make it to you? I know you're a fan.
I am, and I was going to start the show with that too, because I don't think I didn't listen to your bus show and hear you guys talk about Ryan Mountcastle, and you think that I wasn't just going to say something. So to kind of get back at you for that, and
I love it. Now it's a spike draft.
I think I had Mountcastle, and I had India on there as well. I had India and Mountcastle, and I love. I'm going to
take Bobby Witt just so he doesn't get back to Joe.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. I mean,
he has a short.
I was probably not going to take him, but I think Bobby Witt there is a fantastic value. I'm just pissed because Verlander was my ace in the hole here, and Team 9 swooped in there right before me, jerk.
Joe, remember when I was going, it was between Rogers and Verlander. I was staring at Verlander and hoping he might come back.
Depending on how you built the front, that's how I look at Verlander. Like if you have 2 really good starters, you could take the chance on Rogers innings. Otherwise, I think Verlander goes right to 200 again. Bellinger, Chapman, now me on the clock for another pick. Looking at the queue in terms of pitchers, there's 2 that I really like, Shane McClanahan and Mike Clevenger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head and take McClanahan.
I love him this
year. And then I'm going to go ahead and I get a value pick. Thumbs up. Thank you very much, Draft Wizard. And then I'm going to take, do I double dip? Am I a complete and utter jerk in doing that? I'm going to take a look at the pitching real quick and see what's available, because there's a part of me that kind of wants to do that. Carlos Rodon has really a great spot here. I think I'm going to wait. Instead, I'm going to take a little bit more offense. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the queue, see what's available that I've thrown in there. I'm going to take another player that can play in 2 different spots here. I'm going to take Jared Walsh because he qualifies at first base and outfield. Between him and Schwarber, I was going back and forth. I'm taking a lot of Schwarber this year, so I'm doing something different. But once again, I could keep him at first. If more outfield guys come out, that's great. If I like Schwarber, somehow he magically makes it back to me, okay, then maybe I take him next time. Carlos Rodon goes right after that pick, no surprise. Tommy Edman, Jordan Romano, Mike Maher, 10:05, you are on the clock.
So my last pick, Bobby Witt, that's another one where you talk about it's kind of like format specific too. Like I'm more willing to bet on Bobby Witt in a points league than in a categories league, because you can kind of live with some of those growing pains more. And so another guy
But not only that, if you don't have middle infield, you could take anybody later and just kind of Willie Adams or as we were talking, Brandon Crawford, just stash him on the bench just in case things don't work out.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of people are doing that, like they're combining Tatis with those guys. Another guy I like for a points league for my outfield is Austin Meadows. And so I'm going to take him here. I think I can get 30 home runs out of him this year and really just continue to load up on power in my outfield.
All right. Austin Meadows, another guy added along. Welsh, Blake Snell does not make it to Welsh, but who knows? Maybe he could still make the next pick in Blake Snell voice. Josh Bell at 10:07. Kyle Schwarber is not going to make it back to me, kids. I'm sorry. 10:08. Joe. Franamil at 10:09. You're up.
My cue
10:10.
Was literally Schwarber and Reyes. Those were the 2 picks I was going with here, and I just got murdered. That was brutal. And Snell was my backup option. I really don't like a lot of what is going on with the outfield now. Oh, that's kind of a sneaky pick.
All right, Welsh, you're up at 10:10 with 20 seconds left. I just want to make sure you get your.
You're on the
smart.
clock if you didn't know.
All right, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Nathan Eovaldi. That's your dude. Play. A lot of shares this year between our mock drafts of you and Nate Eovaldi. What is it about Eovaldi you like so much? It's solid numbers. It's a good team context. He gets it done. We did some blind plays with him too, and it was absurd when you blindly look at some of his stats versus others. It's like top 25 SP upside, or really.
I love doing that. I'm surprised you passed on Kershaw, who actually went right after. I thought that might be the guy you take. But Hoskins, Kenley Jansen, Chris Bassett, another guy from my queue, gone. 11:03. Welsh, you're up on the clock.
All right. We're going to fill out another util spot here. That Framber one is still killing me. I think it's a pretty good value here. I'm going to go with Nelson Cruz at 123.
All right, Nelson Cruz at 123, also in my queue, no longer. Sean Manaea, also in my queue. He's gone at 11:04. I think he's going to get dealt very soon. Will Smith, CJ Cron, another fine selection there. One of my backup first base plans, also gone. Giovanni Gallegos, 11:07. Mike Maher, you're on the clock for 11:08.
So Kershaw, I'm glad you mentioned him because he's another guy I'm grabbing a ton like in these late rounds because he's such a value here. In categories leagues, I don't know that I love him as much in points leagues because I don't know what the innings are going to look like and how much he's going to rest.
Exactly.
Whereas categories, you can get away with it more. A guy I do like a lot in points leagues is Pablo Lopez. And I'm going to get here. He's just got great stuff. I wrote about him a lot last year. The Marlins are probably not going to be a great team again, but he's going to give you a ton of innings, a ton of strikeouts. I'm not worried about the injuries last year. At the end of last year, he came back. I love Pablo Lopez this year.
All right. I agree. Great selection there on Lopez. Then Chris Taylor, Tyler Mahle, Seiya Suzuki at 11-11. So I make a wish and I got it because Mike Clevenger's still there. So I'm going to take Mike Clevenger here. So 11-12 for me. So reach alert. I don't care. Reach alert. I want him. I'm taking him. Leave me alone, Draft Wizard. Stop judging me. Let's look at the roster right now. So I have filled my staff. Scherzer, Walker Buehler, Charlie Morton, McClanahan, and Clevenger. I'll go to war with that. Remember, we have no bench, so keep an eye on your roster spots, boys. Now it's back to the rankings, trying to look for what to do. Outfield, boy, oh boy, is not the greatest position this year. Not a huge fan.
It turned on where the value
very
is right
fast.
now. Usually it doesn't, but guys like Grisham and Carlson and Verdugo, I don't know, a little less enticing in points right now. So it is a little bit more barren.
I'm going to take a player that I actually really believe in and I think has another gear in them, and it's Brian Hayes. And what I'm going to do then is flip some guys around once again. I got a value pick. Oh, okay. We're back in love again, the Draft Wizard.
Value.
And by taking Brian Hayes, once again, what I can do now is move Chris Bryant to the outfield. See, Chris Bryant just keeps moving around, and I can do this on the Draft Wizard as I'm going through, and then I can move him to third base, Brian Hayes, which is nice. I like this. Very happy about this. So let's see the rest of the picks here. After Hayes, Rizzo, Votto, who was also under consideration. Dalton Varsho goes, nice value at 12:04. Mike Maher, you're on the clock for 12:05.
So I'm going to go with one of my favorite players this year, regardless of format, and especially in this format where you have locked in RPs and we have points where you can choose to go after saves or see if you can get a starting pitcher eligible guy for that slot. And I might get a reach alert here, but I'm going to go with Michael Kopech.
God,
I think
this
he was on my queue.
Me off so much.
It's going to be a weapon.
I was just sitting here waiting for you to
all
take
three
anything else.
I got the reach alert.
My plan in this round, I'm so mad that you did that, was I was going to take two players. I was going to
Don't trash Ryan Mountcastle, and this won't happen.
What?
I said, don't trash Ryan Mountcastle, and this won't happen to you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, now that I know things will work out if I don't take my cut. I wanted Kopech. I'm going to take one of these guys right now, and I'll just pivot a little bit later. But I'm going to take Ranger.
So
Suarez.
Willie Adams goes at 12:06. Then Cronenworth, Ty France, another Welsh favorite goes. Then Joey Gallo, Ranger Suarez. And this is the thing in points leagues too. If you're getting higher points for starters, find those guys that qualify as relief pitchers and starting pitchers and just plug them in there. We gave you Kopech. Ranger Suarez is a great one. Shane Boz goes next. Wilson Contreras, Dansby Swanson, Jared Kelenic. Now we're in the 13th round. Swanson, Kelenic, 1 and 2. Welsh, 13:03. You're on the clock.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. I was so planned. That was a game the system type of play, where you could.
Hey, we all three of us were thinking the same thing. So
I wish I had just done it around earlier. I just thought this was going to be a really great spot for me to be able to jump in on it, but it was not. It was sure not. So I took Ranger to have one of those guys.
He was the other guy.
I wanted to pair those two. And I think what I'm going to do. Oh, yeah, it's beeping at me. We're going to do this. We're going to go with power. This might be a little bit of a reach for me. I'm going to go with Hunter Renfroe. And one of the things, Joe, I mentioned, I forgot to mention a while back, but when we were doing the bust episode, I was talking about Mitch Haniger, is if you blindly look at stats, Hunter Renfroe is essentially Mitch Haniger 50 picks later. I mean, they're almost blindly identical. And I think that's just a really good spot, but that's probably a little bit of a reach I just had.
I don't. I love Hunter Renfroe. I think he's 30 lock this year. Playing every day in Milwaukee, sign me up. Melanson goes, then Ozuna. Zach Gallen at 13:06 could be a huge value. 13:07, Corey Knebel. Mike Maher, you're on the clock for 13:08.
Yeah, so outfield is still really gross. As a Red Sox fan, I also don't really understand why they traded Hunter Renfroe away after what he did for them last year, especially, not fantasy related, but, the right field he was able to play for them. There's another pitcher I really like that is a Joe guy that I'm gonna grab right now before the clock runs out. Is Framber Valdez to round out my staff.
Framber is the color of my energy, Mayor. You know that
Whoa.
very well. Lourdes Gurriel goes next. Then Trent Grisham, Eduardo Rodriguez, another Joe Pisapia favorite. 13-11 is a steal in a head-to-head points, especially if you're playing 2 points per K for Eduardo Rodriguez. All right, that puts me on the clock now. Looking around, I could go first base if I want. Guys like Gurriel, Trey Mancini, not terrible picks there. That's kind of what the Wizard is pushing me to do. Do I want to do it? I think I might. Also, I kind of like Eddie Rosario, too, now that he's just a Brave again. I know they might give me a slight reach, but I think he is very good. He's the top lift according to that, and I could use a little bit more pop in the outfield. I think he's a safe bet there, so I like that. And then let's go back to the queue and see who else is available for me. There are a couple really good pitchers I really like out there, but I am a huge fan of a few guys left that I think I can wait on. Even though I filled my staff, I'm going to be a sneaky snake later on. I think I'm going to continue on and just get a little bit more offense. Looking around the outfield, Dylan Carlson, Alex Verdugo, those are some of the names floating out there. Welsh, anything between those two guys? Is there one you favor more than another?
I mean, again, in this format, like if we were talking, Roto, I probably would go Verdugo. If I wanted to steal some bases, I might go Carlson a little bit more. But in this, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've got them both. I want another outfielder. I probably would look at both of those guys. I think maybe Verdugo, what we're talking about here. Oh my God, I didn't even see you took Donaldson too. You
I did. It was a bait and switch. I had you talk about those guys while I took Josh Donaldson right out from under you.
Right from under me.
I don't know.
I literally queued him up. I literally did it.
Is there an emoji is there a scumbag emoji I get if I take a player from Welsh? I hope
it's
so.
a piece of Pia's face. Please.
Miles Straw goes next at 1402. Well, look, Donaldson's there. Utility spot, high OBP, pop, Yankee pick. Stadium. Let's go. Points league. Again, it's not about the counting stats. After Straw, everything's flying here right now. After Miles Straw, Ian Anderson goes. Then we had Camilo Duvall go at 1404. 1405 is Mike Maher. You selected who?
I took Dylan Carlson. You guys were just talking about him. Also, he's still really young. I don't have any shares this year because I think he's going a little too early for my liking in a lot of drafts. But in this draft, kind of like rounding out my outfield, I love the pick and I love the upside here. He's still only 23 years old. And like you were saying earlier, I think he's another guy that can like hit another gear and give me some more production.
Agreed. Adolis Garcia, Avisel Garcia, wrong Garcia. I hate it when I get my Garcias twisted. 1406, then 1407, Yoel Moncada. 1408, Alex Verdugo, right after Sonny Gray. 1409, the Welsh at 1410 is on the clock.
Took Glaber, get some shortstop help in there. I probably like this format a little bit better so he can't hurt me in other places if he gets back to struggling. But, he's a power guy, so I like that ish. I don't really like anything that's going on here. Conforto, Turner, Wainwright, Mancini just went. And that
Wainwright's a great value at 1501. If he gets anything close to last year, it's a value.
It's a pretty good one. And now I'm going to do one more my gaming of the system. I'm going to take Luis Severino as my second relief.
You jerk.
That's what I wanted to do.
You got
with
the Joe
these
Pisapia
guys.
face. There is it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I wanted these two guys. My RP spots were starting pitchers is what I wanted, and Kopech was taken. So this is second best to have Ranger and Severino.
I don't even know if it's second best. I think Severino could outperform Ranger Suarez if he's right. Logan Gilbert at 1504, Luis Garcia at 1505. Then oh my God, did you see what happened, guys? We had back-to-back Luis Garcia picks. Houston, San Diego, 1505, 1506.
Make a wish.
This is one of the
make a wish.
signs of the apocalypse. No, what is happening here? I'm a little scared, guys. The pick is coming from inside the house. Craig Kimbrell at 1507. Mike Maher. I'm a little spooked out right now. 1505. Make a pick. I need to calm down. That was a lot to take in.
I'm going to take the other Luis. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to take, continuing that same strategy of starters in our relief spot, I'm going to take Tanner Houck.
I wish Avisel Garcia had gone in that round as well. That would have been amazing. Just get all the Garcia.
I did get a reach
an
alert.
Entire round of Garcia. We should do only Garcia mock draft. Only Garcias.
Well, just so you know, Mayor, Tanner Houck was in my queue to go next, so not a reach.
That's how I know he's
the
a
right
reach.
selection. Where's that scumbag alert when you need it? Andrew Benintendi,
We're gonna change
Tyler
the face.
Stevenson, Matt Chapman, another guy I was looking for. All right, I'm gonna go back to the queue, and I'm gonna queue up Christian Javier, who I think is going to start a whole lot of games for the Astros this year. He's one of my favorite selections, one of my favorite ones to take because, I mean, have we not seen what's going on with the the arm of Lance McCullers? I mean, come on here. Let's keep it real. Looking around too, there's a few other guys I could take in terms of relief pitchers. I'm not as excited about it. Andrew Heaney's never exciting. Ashby is a little exciting to me, but I think I want to go for one more bat first. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to look at the queue. Chapman's the guy that I wanted, but unfortunately he's no longer available. Don't like catcher. Never a big fan of that. Everybody who knows me knows that. Looking at all of the hitters remaining, Charlie Blackmon's what it's telling me. I guess I could do worse than Charlie Blackmon, Ian Happ, Rosario. You know what? I'll listen to the wizard. I'll take the top lifter, Charlie Blackmon, for my last utility spot. All right, let's go to Kiki Hernandez next at 1602. Then Stroman at 1603. Lance McCullers, speak of the devil, at 1604. 1605, Mike Maher, you're up on the clock.
So I'm probably going to get another reach alert for this, but this is a guy who I really think showed some things last year, but then kind of got hurt and people forgot about him. And I think he's going to like take off for the Twins this year, and Alex Kirilloff. And so
love Kirilloff. Just wrote about him. He is in my breakout team. Spoiler alert that we're going to do next week. I think that's Monday's show, Welsh. So I hope you're excited for that one, everyone. Kirilloff goes next. Desclafani at 1606. Ryan McMahon, who I almost took at 1607.
That's what I wanted.
That's what you wanted. Jose Urquidy at 1608. Kyber Ruiz, 1609. The Welsh at 1610 is up.
Oh man, third base, it's just a constant with me. I have to take one position and I just have to let it completely fall apart. And that's what I've done here with third base. So we've only got two more picks here. There's a couple good outfielders out here. I am going to go with I'm going to go with Baddoo. We'll take the top guy on here, Akil Baddoo, to fill out my outfield. And then
I only think with Baddoo is the strikeouts in a format like this, just to throw that out there for folks listening. The negative strikeout things, keep that in mind depending on if it's minus 0.5 or -1, or as Mayer likes to allude to, -5, which is probably not a good choice.
And if it were -1, that would I tend to kind of like not care about the strikeout guys. Like I wanted Joey Gallo earlier, he went. That doesn't worry me unless it's a format that really, really pushes back on strikeouts. Then of course I would adjust. So we've only got 2 picks left. I hate all of the third basemen. Desperately hate all of them. And I'm going to take, you know what? I usually don't do this. I'm going to take my third baseman last here because I want to ensure myself that I get Gary Sanchez. And I know it won't be popular, but big power in a points league, and he'll be DHing in Minnesota. That's something that I get excited about, and I keep missing out on him. So I locked him as my catcher.
All right. So after Akil Baddoo went Adolis Garcia, another Garcia, a lot of Garcias in the draft today. Michael Brantley, Jorge Soler, Robbie Grossman, then Welsh took Gary Sanchez, Gene Segura at 1704, 1705, Tariq Skubal. We have Rogers from the Twins at 1706, Hyunjin Ryu, 1707, then Mike Maher, 1708. You are on the clock.
So Gary Sanchez was probably going to be my pick. I was looking at him as Welsh picked him, and I was like, do I want to do that? And then Welsh picked him, so I don't have to worry about it. I don't have this guy anywhere, and I rarely do, but I'm going to grab Ahmed Rosario here just to fill out my utility spot. If you're kind of like thinking roster construction, he's going to be shortstop outfield eligible. You can kind of give you some roster flexibility. I think the Guardians are going to be bad, and they're going to let him run.
All right, down to me. Brendan Rodgers went, another one of my favorite guys there. Ahmed Rosario went to Mayer, then Montgomery, Brandon Rodgers, Scott Barlow. Now, since there's only 2 mandatory RP spots, again, you're 24 deep in a 12-team league, so you have a little flexibility with that. So I'm going to take Jesus Luzardo on the off chance he ends up in that rotation. He qualifies at RP. So I have Luzardo, I have Christian Javier. I want a 2-start weak people to death. That is my plan. And I'll just take a Colorado catcher and Elias Diaz. And my roster is now officially filled. Going up, Mitch Garver goes next. Then we have Escobar from the Mets at 1803. Noah Syndergaard, formerly the Mets, at 1804. Mike Mayer, you're on the clock for 1805.
So I only have to fill out my catcher, and I'm just going to take a catcher I take all the time, year over year, and Christian Vasquez. He's hitting in a good park and a good lineup. He's even going to steal a few bases for you.
There you go. The Christian Vasquez, Patrick Sandoval, an absolute steal here at 1806. Travis d'Arnaud, Andrew Kittredge at 1808. Bobby Dahlback, 1809. Welsh, who did you select there? Because I went straight into the wizard here after.
Mr. Spencer Torkelson. Why not? I think he's going to break camp. I think it's all but set as a first baseman, and I get him as my third baseman in here. And since it's the last pick and we're not doing benches and stuff, why would I not take a huge, massive upside player? And then at this point, I would just pick up somebody else as I'm digging into the dirt hole of third baseman that I have put myself in. So
now the draft wizard is set up for yeah, I agree. And all upside, right? You can always pick somebody else at third base on the bench and you make it up. The grades are going to be off a little because again, it's not a perfect system here for the points league. So we're going to focus a little less on grades and a little bit more on the roster construction theory. So Welsh, what was the grade you got from the draft wizard? Just out of curiosity.
It gave me a B plus, 88 out of 100. So B plus.
Very nice. I only got a C. So 73 for me, but I love this team. I'd go to war with this team in a second. How about you, Maher? I bet it loved you.
I got an A minus. I got a 90.
Look at you. Everybody loves Mike Maher.
Yeah.
All of the Maher stuff. Let's start with Maher's team then. Let's get the insights from Maher's team. Who liked your team quite a bit when it gets to the expert opinions? Give us some of the guys, because I know I liked my team quite a bit here on mine.
So let's see. The person who liked it the most was Andy Behrens. And expert opinions, the RotoChamp site projections, Fred Zinke, Scott Engel, and Andrew Gould.
Okay, who hated
thumbs down from Welsh? Thumbs down from Welsh.
That's
and thumbs down from Joey P.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
You did have Mount. You didn't get Mountcastle, so I'm actually surprised you got a thumbs down. Okay.
All right, Welsh, who are the expert opinion thumbs up and thumbs down for your draft?
So my dear friend, Mr. Scott White, loved my draft more than anybody over at CBS. And I got to be honest with you. What do I got to do for Dalton Del Don to like my draft? What do I have to do at this point? Every single draft. What does he hate so much? Why are they so angry? Him, guess who's my number one hater? Pinowski. Who's number two? Dalton Del Don. Why do they hate us so much? I don't understand.
I have some bad news for you there. Do you know who the most accurate fantasy baseball expert was last year?
Yeah, sure.
Dalton Del Don.
Yeah, and he hates it. He hates every single draft I've ever done. So don't listen to me. Listen to Mike Maher and listen to Dalton Del Don. That's what you guys should do, clearly.
Well, this is the perfect segue of all segues. Can I just for a moment, because thumbs up in my draft, no one likes my draft more than Joe Pisapia, obviously. But second, Dalton Del Don likes my draft. And, of course, Scott Bogman, because Scott Bogman always likes my draft. And you know who else likes my draft? Somebody from Fantasy Pros, some guy named Mike Maher. Likes my draft. So how about them apples?
Joe, you liked mine. You liked
Dalton Del Don.
I liked it while it was going. I got to tell you.
I'm saying, and you liked it on here. It was you, Josh from Fantasy Pros, and Joe Pisapia, my top 3 likes here. So.
All right, there you have it. Let's run through the rosters too, because I think that's really important. So Welsh, let's go through your team here and talk about the concept, the roster construction, how you built it out. You had Gary Sanchez at catcher, Vlad Guerrero at first, Ketel Marte at second, Gleyber Torres at short, Torkelson at third. Then the outfield, Robert, JD Martinez, Hunter Renfroe, Akil Baddoo, Paul Goldschmidt in utility with Nelson Cruz. So from an offensive standpoint, I mean, certainly you have some power. You have upside with a guy like Torkelson. If Torres bounces back, it's huge. But a pretty good floor when you get Vlad Guerrero along in the same team with Luis Robert, JD Martinez, and Paul Goldschmidt. That's a good weekly floor of points, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's interesting, the what if had said if I had drafted Soto instead and drafted a first baseman later, I would have scored higher. I was more looking at drafting like Garrett Cole first and seeing how I would have put that together. I don't know if I'm in love with this team, but I accomplished a lot of what I wanted to accomplish as far as getting like really big power bats. My obvious logic would be they are going to touch in on runs and RBI. I obviously don't want crazy hit albatrosses. That's one of the things that might not be an advantage for guys like Joey Gallo, but the homers just mean so much. I accomplished most of it, though some of the players didn't work out quite where I want it. Like I said, having Gleyber in there and, I would have liked to have gambled less with Torque, still got him, but not have him as like the starting third base spot. So like if I were grading myself, I'd probably grade this one honestly as like a B on offense. And I like my pitching a lot better. I thought I put that that
pitching
piece
is
better
great
together. Yeah.
but the
Urias,
pitching is the
Nola.
most important part. Urias, Aaron Nola, then you got, so you've locked in your top two guys. Hopefully Nola a little bit more consistent this year. We'll see. Then Rogers, Manoah, Nathan Eovaldi, you have Luis Severino and Ranger Suarez. I mean, I think this is a terrific. If you can come away with this kind of pitching staff in a points league, I think you will be very competitive week to week.
Yeah, I'm that. This is where I would give myself like the A as far as what the pitching. You could push a name or two. Like I wanted Joe Musgrove as pitcher 3 so bad, I can't even tell you.
He's
So,
my
like,
pitcher 5. Oh no, I'm sorry, not him. Clevenger is my pitcher 5.
Yeah, I wanted
screwed up
Musgrove
my
more
Padres
than
for a second.
anything, and if I could have had that, that might have changed my perception a little bit. But I like the pitching staff. My hitting is what held me down. It's not my favorite team that I put together. Your guys' construction is probably going to be a little bit better.
Let's talk about Maher's construction here. Mike Maher, Christian Vasquez is your fallback catcher, but you got Freddie Freeman locked in there as your big dude. Then you have Jonathan India at second base, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Alex Bregman at third. So the infield certainly strong with potential for a whole lot more with a bounce back from Bregman and a breakout from Witt. You've got Kyle Tucker, Nick Castellanos, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Alex Kirilloff, Ahmed Rosario. How you feel about the offense here, Maher?
I feel pretty good. Like you said, there's a little bit of risk on the left side of my infield with Bregman and with Witt. Like I said at the time, I'm a little bit more comfortable gambling on Witt in a points format. I am a little nervous in categories, with some of like the ups and downs you're probably going to see from him this year. But in points, I like the upside there.
Agreed. All right, let's get to your pitching staff here. Lucas Giolito, Max Fried, living in that 1A tier, so nice. Dylan Cease right after that, Pablo Lopez, Framber Valdez, then Michael Kopech and Tanner Houck. I love how all three of us did the same thing. We gamed the system with two starting pitchers as relievers. I wish I have so much regret because you took Kopech. I almost took him in that same round, but looking back at this staff, what are your thoughts on how it would lay out and how it would play out?
It's funny you both said you might have done it a round earlier, and I was like, as I was doing it, I was like, am I a round too early on this? Should I wait another round? And so I'm glad that I didn't. Yeah, in terms of like the pitching, as I was saying, like in the beginning, this is like the ideal kind of build for me, is avoiding the risk of DeGrom, seeing if you can slide into the top of that next tier in Giolito, and then beefing it up with like guys like Fried and Cease and Pablo Lopez and Framber Valdez, because there's just so many good pitchers in that kind of like middle. It takes so long for starting pitching to just like run out of gas, whereas with like outfield and third base, there's a clear cliff.
Agreed. And for me, I showed you the other version, which is the top heavy double ace strategy. So we all showed you different stuff. Welsh and Maher did what I would normally do, but at the 12, sometimes if you get those guys we got first round grades on, you got to just go with the draft board. So I'll start with the offense 2 here. Elias Diaz at catcher, Chris Bryant at first, Whit Merrifield at second, Carlos Correa at short, Brian Hayes at third, Eloy Jimenez, Brian Reynolds, Jared Walsh, Eddie Rosario, Josh Donaldson, Charlie Blackmon. I look at this offense, Welsh, and these are a lot of guys who are hitting towards the top of an order, which is very productive. That's what I'm looking for in points leagues too. It's almost like DFS. Take guys in that 1 through 4, 1 through 5 spot. They get the extra at bats, typically more productive. That's where the runs are scored. What do you think of this offense, Welsh?
Yeah, there's some names that I specifically wanted. One that's killing me, I almost wish the draft wizard would have what-ifed, is the Bryant one. I think that might have been, even though I took Paul Goldschmidt, by the way, I think from a roster construction standpoint, my team would have felt, I would have been a lot more comfortable, and I might have made some better decisions. That's another thing to think about when you're putting these together. As much as I like Goldie, had I taken Bryant when I thought I should take him, I would have had that third base spot, and I probably would have felt a little bit more comfortable about some of that infield, and I might have put a priority later to get, like I got Nelson Cruz, maybe another DH into that spot. I feel like I would have liked my team better had I taken Chris Bryant. I also wanted Correa. I love Eloy Jimenez. Not as big as on Brian Reynolds, like where you took him as you did, but you've got power and contact kind of across the board. I think that's a big key. You're not going to try to kill him with big homer RBI numbers. You're going to kill him with singles and doubles. You're going to chip away at those stats all week. So this is a pretty solid, I wouldn't give this like an A+ offense, but this is a pretty solid offense you put together with some names I really wish I had.
It doesn't have that Soto Trey Turner Vlad guy.
Yeah.
So instead, because you go pitching early, what you got to do then is pivot to, you got to make sure you got a dude at every spot, right? Like Whit Merrifield's a dude. I think Eloy Jimenez is a dude. Reynolds is a dude. Like Jared Walsh is going to hit 30 bombs this year. Eddie Rosario could hit 25 to 30. Donaldson, same thing. Like I think as long as you continue to pinpoint guys at good spots and lineups in points leagues, you can make up the deficit if you decide to go pitching early. So I did go pitching early. That pitching staff at the end of the day was Max Scherzer, Walker Buehler 1 and 2, Charlie Morton at the 3. That's about what, like, I don't know, 1,000 strikeouts between those 3 guys. Wow. Shane McClanahan and Mike Clevenger, then Christian Javier and Jesus Luzardo. I know I took some risks with the relievers here. Mayor, what do you think of this pitching staff that I put together, especially those nasty boys at the top?
Well, the only thing about the nasty boys at the top is there's a little bit of risk there, right? And so that would be
I think less with Buehler and Scherzer. What's the risk of Scherzer at this point? I mean, every year the guy leads the league in strikeouts. What are we doing to ourselves here?
Right, but he's just 100 years old. He finally did start to show his age a little bit last year. There were some injuries, and he kept coming back from them. But like at some point,
well, he had some extra time off eating Funyuns while he was, negotiating the labor agreement. So I hope that's going to work out in my favor. But you're not wrong. You're not.
I think it was Doritos. I want to say it was Cool Ranch Doritos. Joe, get it correct.
But that's Funyuns is funnier. By the way, Cool Ranch is my preferred Dorito. Mayor, do you have a preferred Dorito?
Definitely not Cool Ranch. What's like the original red one? That's the one I like.
Nacho
just
cheese.
Like nacho cheese,
yeah,
boring.
It's funny you say that.
The spicy sweet chili one is good too. I like that one.
Nacho cheese is like the go-to, but I find myself, if I'm in a chip pinch there, I do go Cool Ranch. Here's a side one. If you want to pretend to feel better about yourself, they have organic tortilla ones that are the Doritos now. So you can have white cheddar organic tortilla chips, and it's just like, your little tortilla chip action, maybe a little marg or something like that, some white cheddar. Mwah. Go.
Very nice. My what if is if I had taken Mookie Betts and just one of those 2 pitchers, I would have been significantly higher, and probably so. And because the way the pitching is tiered out, I would have been very happy if I ended up with Verlander and Morton as my 2-3 instead. I think that would have been perfectly fine. But this is what's so great about the Draft Wizard software. It gives you all these insights so you can learn and get better. And I'm glad we were able to give you some points league love out there, because points leagues are leagues too, and they deserve it. And a big growing sector of the fantasy baseball community, a lot of people shifting over there. I always hate when people say, oh, I'm in a 10 by 10 league. And I go, why? Why aren't you just in a points league? I don't understand why you're doing this to yourself, where every category is the same, because it's not. Find all the stats, weight them appropriately. A stolen base shouldn't be worth as much as a home run. A save shouldn't be as much as a quality start or a win. This is called logic, and I hope we're bringing that to you here, along with great baseball content. And of course, you can find that content at youtube.com/FantasyProsMLB. Subscribe today and click that notifications bell when you do, so you're ready every single day when Leading Off goes live with Welsh, myself, and our cast of amazing characters. And I'm sure Mike Maher will be showing up on that as well. Don't forget to use our mock draft lobby over at fantasypros.com/draftwizard. That is open. MUDs are open, the multi-user draft software, so you can draft with your friends, or you could just use the regular old Draft Wizard and draft by yourself if you've just had enough of everyone for the day. And they're scumbags, like Welsh said before, whenever that emoji might be. Scumbags. Boy, that was harsh, man.
I know, it does. It sounds harsh. Actually, when you say it, it sounded even worse. So now I don't want to say it anymore. It sounds harsh.
Now, you know what? It was fun in the moment, and that's where I live. I live in the moment. So I enjoyed living in the moment with you two today, and I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. We'll be back again next week with the all breakout team, and I'm telling you, we're just a week away from leading off. Get excited. You can interact with us live on the YouTube channel when we're recording. If you've got snarky fun things to say, then this is the place to do it. Or if you just want to become a peanut and cracker jack, go subscribe to our Fantasy Pros MLB channel and join our Discord as well at fantasypros.com/chat. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Welsh and Mayer, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Fantasy Pros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.